Hasselgren Engineering. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
So what do we have here?
So we just finished break-in on this Toyota with PTH break-in oil, and we do a little cam inspection. That's the biggest issue we have with these motors is cam life. So pulling the cam cover off, and straight off, it looks absolutely fabulous. So we've got the break-in oil. It's done its job, and I think we can actually move on to sealing up and going back to power runs. So if you take a look at some of these camshafts, you can see that everything is just absolutely perfect.
So what are the pitfalls, I guess, someone isn't using a higher quality oil?
Well, film strength, obviously. Ability of the oil to put up with high temperatures. So the protection that your oil gives us is the corrosion resistance and all of the ability for it to handle the acid. And so the motor basically stores well, won't deteriorate as it sits in storage.
What does an engine like this cost?
It's about a $40,000 engine.
So
Not
I mean
too
that's an investment if you're in the racing world.
Well, you got to have a couple of them. That's the problem.
Right. How many hours does an engine like this go before it needs to be looked at?
We're about 15 hours on these at 10.8.
Oh wow. Okay, that's a lot of RPM.
A lot of RPM. And
Right.
usually a lot of abuse.
A lot of moving parts, right?
Yep. You know, I think what everybody overlooks is when the motor's out there on the racetrack and the guy doesn't get the cooling sorted and he starts to overheat the oil or overheat the water. That's where the oil really starts to pay for itself. You know, you don't need it until you need it.
Right.
Right?
It's like having
But
a
when
parachute.
you need it, you wish you had it.
What kind of things have you been able to share with your customers about these motors and using PTH Racing Oil?
It does save them money, I mean, in the long run, because the oil is actually lubricating a lot of parts that basically do get starved for oil. You know, if the oil's not up to the job, it's not up to the shear strength, you get issues with, you know, with the push rod motors. It would be the ball ends of the push rods, the bearings and cylinder bores with the rings. Obviously camshafts, just like on the Toyota.
Right, and you've mentioned these motors are going for 30 hours basically. That oil's got to withstand those high temperatures. I mean,
Well,
over that period of time.
Yeah, in the past when we've pulled motors apart that the oil's not up to the job, you can actually turn the piston over and look at the wear on the wrist pin and inside the pin bosses of the piston, and you can see that the thing's starving for oil. It's got to have more lubrication. And I like to run my tolerances a little on the tight side. Control the leaks in the motor so you can actually get the oil to go where you need it to go.
Right.
At the end of the day, when you start looking at the motor, PTH has always shown me that it is up to the job. You know, it gets to where I need to have oil lubrication. Well, part of what you got to do when building race motors is you got to build your reliability in, and what you want to be able to do is be able to trust the parts and trust the oil and trust the gasoline. So if you can eliminate some of the issues that you have with the products that you're using, it's something that's off of your plate. You know, you got a good oil in the motor, don't have to worry about that anymore. Got that taken care of, you know. So when the motor comes apart and you're looking at the bearings, you're not questioning whether the product is the issue. You're looking at the issues of mechanical problems that you have to solve. And that's what racing and racing engine building is solving problems.
Right.
You know, you push the limit, you want to push a little further, you got to solve the problem that's holding you back.
How have you been able to translate and say remove some of that fear, uncertainty, and doubt with your customers when they are building engines?
Wow, it's more of the fact that I'm the one that has to be afraid, right? So actually, you're helping me. I mean,
Right.
you know, that's one of the nicest things about it is, you know, I can have a direct conversation with you about the oil, and you know, basically you just tell me exactly how it is, exactly how you're building your oil, and I can trust the product, you know.
Right.
So you're making my life easier.
Yeah, good science is about repeatability, right?
Yeah.
And you know, not a marketing plan. I think one of the best things that we're doing out there is finding the very best engine builders and trying to make a difference with them.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty happy.
So Paul, I mean, this is a pretty incredible motor. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, this is going to be a little street motor, track day motor, and it's going to be turbo. So we're expecting about 400 to 500 horsepower out of it. And it's a 1900, so we built this motor originally for rally, and the customer is interested in having one for his little AE86, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Super cool.
It's been in the magazines.
Right. And using PTH Racing Oil.
It is. It is. It's going to be on PTH.
So,
Especially with a turbo. This thing's going to be stressed.
right. And I guess when the motor is stressed, I mean, you're looking for an oil that can hold up to the rigors of either endurance racing or the high heat scenarios. So,
Yeah, and even again, you know, this is not going to be his everyday driver, but you know, when it's sitting in the garage, we don't want the little guy to corrode on us either.
right. One of the things I've noticed having a high performance car on the street is you get stuck in traffic sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, your car's starting to heat and there's nowhere to go. You're locked up in a whole grid of traffic, and you know, I mean, the stop and go of the city is pretty tough.
Yeah, well, you know, this again, this is part of the reason why PTH is going to be the savior for the little motors that are basically out there in traffic. You know, the oil temperature may raise up to something that would scare you if you really knew what the temperature was instead of just being a gauge that just gives you an idea of what it is. And, you know, 300 degrees is not going to be a problem.